and welcome back to the Thehammer56 Quentin Tarantino retrospective. Plow through a couple more movies here. Maybe the last part, we may go one more. I don't know, we'll see how this goes. Next up, coming in... Come on, have the date on this one for God's sakes. Dadgummit. I really should have researched this. Jeez. Give me a second here. I'm gonna look it up, guys. I apologize. I ramble for a few minutes here. Yeah, y'all know what movie it's gonna be. Clearly, his next production. It was actually quite a gap. I know that much between Jackie Brown and Kill Bill, Volume 1. And I can remember when Kill Bill Volume 1 came out, except for I can't remember the date, which, God forbid, I apologize for this, people. Unprofessionalism is what this is. I know it was quite a bit of time between Kill Bill, and while I'm looking this up, I'll give you the basic rundown of the plot. Kill Bill tells the story of Uma Thurman's character, the Bride, who was a member of this assassin's gang ran by a man named Bill. Well, she decided to break free due to circumstances I won't give away because that is something, told sorry, later on. 2003, so from 97 to 2003 was the gap between Kill Bill and Jackie Brown. So good long gap. Anyways, back to what I was saying. She decides to leave for reasons I won't spoil. And Bill brings the rest of the Assassin's gang to her wedding and attempts to kill her. They don't succeed, and she goes into a coma, and when she wakes up, she decides to take her revenge on the Assassin's gang one by one. So this is Volume 1, which again has Tarantino's, what's been his style, that back and forth motion and time, where the film starts out with David Carradine as Bill shooting Uma Thurman's character in the head, and then we fast forward to her getting one of the revenge on one of the members, won't spoil who, then we go back to her being in a coma, and then we go forward. That's kind of been his style throughout his career, where he kind of goes, he doesn't follow this linear path, which I think is cool, but this was also like, he has a bad habit of kind of like repeating some things, which is not necessarily horrible, but it kind of becomes cliche with him, like the chapters and that style, forward, backwards, which, is not necessarily like a horrible thing. It's just that you kind of want him to mix it up a little bit. But, overall, not like a complaint I'm really going to, like, heckle the guy about. So this one goes up to when she fights Lucy Liu's character, Ora Ishii, and her gang, the Crazy 88s, in Japan. And it ends there before she goes on in the next series to go after the rest of them. What I like about this movie, I love the style. I feel that Tarantino was probably heavily influenced by, not just what you would expect, stuff like martial arts films and samurai films, but I think he was also heavily influenced by Takashi Miike's Ichi the Killer, because the look and that visceral spray style. Ichi the Killer hadn't been out too long before this film, I believe. And at the same time, you definitely know he was probably influenced by spaghetti westerns. And this is the beginning of kind of his lack of original score. There is no original score for Kill Bill. He actually got the RZA from the Wu-Tang Clan, any Wu-Tang Clan fans out there, to compile a almost a, I won't say playlist, but just compile a compilation of scores from other movies, and that's what he uses in this movie, along with some songs and stuff, and like the 5, 6, 7, 8s that play in the club during the infamous Crazy 88 scene. I love the atmosphere, I love the vibe. I'm not crazy about the dialogue in the first half of this movie. The scene between her and Vivica A. Fox's character, I don't love. And I think there's, like, he blatantly steals a line from Tobe Hooper's Eaten Alive. But outside of that, I think that the script is is solid, you know, for the first half of this film. One of the shorter films, it's only about an hour and 50 minutes. So one of his shorter movies, it ranks with like Death Proof and Reservoir Dogs that were only, you know, 90 minutes, I think. And you know, what do you say about this movie? The crazy 88 scene is awesome. Plus, it has what's her name, Chiaki Kira, the girl from Battle Royale that plays Go-Go in the film. I love her. So yeah, Kill Bill Volume 1 is just excellent, fun splatter film with tons of action and craziness. Oh, and my favorite scene in the movie, I almost forgot this, is the backstory of Onran Ishii, where it goes to like an anime style and plays the song from a movie I reviewed, The Grand Duel. I love that scene. Love it, love it, love it. Brilliant scene. So then, just 1 year later, we go to Kill Bill Volume 2, which Kill Bill Volume 1 is over the top and violent and visceral and blood spraying all over the place. Volume 2 is almost a drama. And that splits people. Either you love Volume 1 and don't really like Volume 2, or you like Volume 2 and Volume 1, or Volume 2, it just completely has people all over the map. This is my favorite half of Kill Bill. I love this one. For many reasons. There's too many scenes to count in this one. I love when she goes to train with the guy with the big long white beard. And I'm not going to go over the plot of this because it's the same plot as the first one. It's just the rest of her vengeance. And the ending of this movie, without spoiling anything, although I mean you can kind of get it from the title of the movie, is just fantastic. David Carradine proved in this movie that he was a really good actor. And it's a shame that he's gone now. It's a shame that he never got to do any, even after this, didn't really get a chance to do any, you know, good movies. Not to be mean or anything, but just the delivery, his voice, his attitude. You know, from the beginning of the movie, you're like, oh, Bill, what a bastard! I hope he dies. And at the end of the movie, you're like, you can work it out. Don't kill him. You can work this out. And that's one thing I love about this movie. I was talking to a friend of mine about him just recently. Vivica A. Fox's character has a bit of sympathy to her. She's apologizing the whole time, and she has a daughter. So automatically you're like, you know, I really don't want you to kill her, but okay, go ahead. Onran Ishii, her backstory about her father and mother being killed by the Yakuza gang, and that kind of driving her into becoming an assassin. You give him this little bit of sympathy for her. Bud, who is just this deadbeat, basically, you feel bad for him in a way, and Bill is so charismatic. I mean, the only real character in this movie that's 100% dislikable is Ellie Driver, who is played by Daryl Hannah. She's pretty much the only one in this movie that is just 100% like, I hate him. The rest of them, you kind of, you know, in a way you have sympathy for them, which is interesting, because they're all trying to kill each other. And really, even the bride's not a good character. I mean, she was an assassin before anything. She just got done wrong, you know. That's why you follow her, and that's why you like her. So, yeah. Kill Bill Volume 2 is my favorite Kill Bill film. I love it. Let's do one more in this, and we'll do part 3, where I'll talk about the last 2 movies, and then I'll rank them. So let's drive through one more. This one, oh no, here we go again, guys. But luckily, I have the internet pulled up, so I can just Google this one. This is Tarantino's section of Grindhouse, which I could have went and seen Grindhouse in theater, and like an idiot, I didn't do it. Like so many other idiots out there, because there was a lot of us that didn't go see Grindhouse because it didn't do very well, unfortunately. This came out in 2007. It's his segment. It is Death Proof. And this is one of those movies, man, that again, splits people. I said the further you go along in Tarantino's resume you get, the more divided people get. And I don't hate this movie, but this is my least favorite Tarantino. Definitely. Basically, Kurt Russell is stuntman Mike, who is, as his name would imply, a stuntman who has a car that is death-proof, and he kills women with his car. But it's split into 2 sections. The first is a group of girls having a night out the bar, and the second group of people are a crew of girls who are working on a movie, including 2 stunt drivers. So it splits into 2 sections of the film, and I think that's where the problem lies. You really don't get a chance to identify with any of the characters. it takes a certain actor to deliver Tarantino's dialogue, and I don't really feel like these were the ones to do it. Okay, here we go. I'm not hating on this movie, but this is how I feel about this movie. First off, the first group of women, I never really found myself identifying with any character. I didn't really like any of them, so when it came to them to get their demise, I didn't really care. The crash scene is amazing. I'll say that right up front. That is fantastic. The second group of women, I think they're worse than the first group. I think Rosario Dawson's good, and I think Zoe Bell is really good. I think she's actually really, really good in this movie. She's a real stunt actress. But I think the other two are really annoying, including the Samuel L. Jackson wannabe, who says motherfreaker every 5 seconds. And I pray to God that Tarantino did not write most of her dialogue, that most of it was improv, because it is ridiculously stupid and vulgar for the sake of being vulgar. Almost like Rob Zombie style, which, I mean, I know some people like Rob Zombie, but you gotta admit that his scripts aren't very good. Even though I like, his first two movies. Maybe we'll have to do Rob Zombie in the future in this series. It's just, I find myself becoming completely disinterested when I'm watching this movie. Halfway through the film, I start just drifting off and not really paying attention anymore. I love the first crash scene. I love the first half of the last car chase scene with Zoe Bell strapped to the hood, and they really did that. I mean, she's really on the hood, and it really adds a sense of like tension where you're like, oh my God, your palms get sweaty and you're all nervous for her, even if you've seen the movie before. It's just the dialogue, the long scenes, which a lot of times I like Tarantino's long scenes, but because, like I said, it takes a certain kind of actor or actress to pull off that dialogue, and I don't think this was the group to do it. And the switch at the end of it. I almost wish that this movie would have been done more like Road Games, or Hitcher, sorry, or Duel, or something like that, where you only follow the second group of girls. I think they would have been the best ones to do it, where they're being chased, and like Stuntman Mike is, each time we see him, he's amping up the violence more and more and more, till it gets to the point where like, we ain't taking it no more, and then they switch on it. I think that would have worked a lot better than it's just like, oh God, we're gonna die. Let's kill this motherfucker. And then it's just changed. And like Stuntman Mike becomes a baldwin pussy and they become She-Ra. I thought that was just, it was just too drastic of a change, too quick. I wish it would have been built. I wish Tarantino's whole segment would have been this, back and forth chase more so than just two sections. It doesn't feel like it's needed. It doesn't feel like you needed two separate stories. I wish it had just been one. So that's my thoughts on Death Proof. I don't love it. I don't hate it. It even sounded like I hated it. I don't hate it. I just wish that it was something a little different. So yeah, Death Proof. And that's where we'll end this movie. We got 2 more Tarantino films to talk about, and then I'm going to rank them from my favorite to my least favorite. So stay tuned, and I'll be right back.